Health is wealth, and if you're able to eat healthily, for me, that is wealth. And I think if you are able to look after yourself and you're able to share it with others, that is just such a beautiful thing. So I love having my own food security, and I love being able to grow excess to share.
As we had a huge society problem back home with the economy crash that started in 2009. So the needs of renew myself and find a better solution for me, for the next generation, for the earth.
I chose to do a PGC because I wanted to learn something different. I really wanted to learn something different. I was from a traditional school, you know, and with the life I was having, I wasn't that happy. So I wanted to be sustainable, if it's the word. Yeah, I wanted to be sustainable.
So one of my friends had noticed that I was getting into my little veggie patch at my house and got me a magazine, and in the magazine was information about the PDC, and that's how I found out about it. And then the more I researched about it on the internet and found out about it, I decided that this was the way to go, and there was a lot of value in what I could learn at the PDC. So I just took the opportunity and came, and it's been great.
Access is very important, whether things get done or don't get done. My mulch comes from whenever I mow or whippersnip, I harvest it. So this is the spillway of the major food forest swale, the one that brought the nutrient back into the system. And it's where it spills here, and when we're getting quite wet, all water sort of catches there and spills through here as well. So it gets a little bit wet through here and then goes down through the whole food forest area. How did I prepare this? Too much manure coming, I could have just left it in a pile and created a festering mess. I've come in here and spread wheelbarrow loads without even sheet mulching or anything, just on top of the grass, what we mowed yesterday, that very similar. And just, this has all been cow manure. There was some topsoil put in some spots, but it's mostly cow manure. And I've just left it, and it turned a lot quicker than I expected. What they've mainly done is eradicated the grass seed, so I hardly have any grass come up. There will be some clumps of solid grass, clumpy stuff like these ones here, really tough, that I'll dig out once I've moved it before I plant, just so that they don't come back. And then I just keep coming back and just checking that there's not so much grass growing. What that's all about, grass is bacterial based and trees are fungal based. So whatever I do chop and drop now in that section there is fungal based. Where if it's grass, it'd be bacterial based. So we're actually creating a natural environment for the tree.
It's joyful. You get to see the abundance of how things are grown. I think all chefs should come and do that, to see where their produce actually comes from, how it's grown, when it's plentiful in the garden. That's the time to make pastes, and yeah, it's definitely great. Pretty much I try to keep the vitamins in the plant, so I harvest them, just before lunch, and cook to try and keep the seasonal tastiness and the vitamins in the greens that we've been using in the garden.
We've already started to implement some changes, but with because my husband's already done the course, we're both going to be able to go home and work at implementing the changes that we've learnt in the course, start making our own soil, making sure the food that we're growing is organic, we know where it's come from. We know how to set up our livestock so it's actually more productive for us within our permaculture design property.
The first thing I will do after that course is grow food. Grow my own food. It will be the first thing.
It seems like the right thing to do for me and my friends and family, and I guess the world as a whole. It seems like the right thing to do, to take responsibility for your place on the earth. So.
Well, my dad built his house when I was a kid and renovated a couple more, so I grew up with that. The rest I learnt on the job, and it's a steep learning curve, but if you have a good head for building, you can pick this stuff up. A lot of it's essentially common sense, but the best thing to do is go and work with other people. If you want to learn about building, then go. I mean, you can do an apprenticeship if you want to do that, if you're talking about doing professional work, but if you just want to learn about building, and you know someone's doing a build near you or something like that, then go on as an unskilled labourer and you just ask questions and watch what some people are doing and so on. But a lot of the time it was needed knowledge. I had a problem or something I had to overcome. So when we did the stone walls, I decided we were going to do stone, and I'd experimented a bit with just some free stone building on our first structure, which had already had some stone walling, so I was trying to match what was done there, but I realised that the process that was used there was not very effective. It was not easy to keep the walls straight, and the rocks kept falling over and so on. So I did some research on alternative forms, and I found a technique called slip form building, which is fairly quick, fairly reliable, and also had the advantage of being you could use lay people or unskilled labour to do stone walls and still have a good result. I had to read about that, and I read about other people's case studies, did some YouTube study, and then I just tried it. So ultimately the kitchen water just comes in and it just distributes into here. Okay, it comes out through here and here, and it ultimately goes into a bed of soil, and this soil here is actually full of worms, absolutely chockers with worms. It's essentially a worm compost system, and it drains down, and then on the bottom there's drainage gravel, and the water just flows out from the bottom and then goes out to the garden. So this actually separates all the food, but more than just separating, it also breaks the food down. So about once every 6 months, I'll actually dig this soil out and throw it into the garden. So we started with a composting toilet because one of the benefits of composting toilet is that it's very easy to install, very quick, and very mobile. You can move it around. So we thought, well, let's go with a composting toilet. It's sound, ecologically, we'll get material for the garden from it, but also we can set up a toilet in a day and have something ready to go. This system was an off-the-shelf system from an Australian Queensland company. It's a batching system. Basically, it's a bucket with a drain at the bottom of it and a ventilation fan. And once the bucket is full, you pull the bucket out and you put it off to one side and it composts, and then you empty another bucket into the garden or around a fruit tree, and you put that bucket back into service. I really wanted to build. I've always wanted to. I wanted to explore that whole process. And as a result of doing it, I've ended up becoming a builder, really. People can see that I can build. They've seen the process, and so now they ask me to come and build. And so that's, for me personally, where I'm heading, with the idea of trying to focus on building in sustainable building and sustainable architecture. Though I'm not a purist by any means. You've got to always weigh up, if you're doing something for someone else, that it's their money. And sometimes doing things with a pure eco focus is not really cost effective. The property is a lot of work, and unless you're prepared for it, or unless you've got money to pay for someone else to do it for you, it can be a bit of a shock. And some people, and I know people not just in community here but outside of Starlight in just the general area here, who have bit off more than they can chew, either financially they've put too much money down, or just physically they can't keep up with the amount of work and it falls apart, and that can be quite distressing when that happens. So generally I would recommend that if anybody's interested in living on property, that they rent for a bit first and see what it's like. Not to say that you can't leave the city and say live in a small town or something like that. There are a lot of options there, but on property like this, you've got to be able to have the stamina or the resources to take it on.
When I first came here, there was a lot of lantana, which is an invasive weed on the north coast, and it had a good sunny aspect, but it was quite a steep slope to work with. So initially I just camped here for a couple of months and watched the angle of the sun and where the weather came from and the wind and so on. And from there I worked out where it would be best to put a house, and also looked at where was the best sun aspect for a vegetable garden and an orchard. I have 3 panels, 340 watts, so yeah, it's a small system, but it's enough to run a washing machine, provided the day is sunny. And with a large battery bank, I have 450 hours of battery, so that means that there's plenty of reserve there for cloudy weather. Everything is done by hand. I have used some power tools, of course, chainsaw and power drill and so on, but yeah, all the earthworks here I've done by hand. This house runs off a spring line, capturing spring water up in the forest. Water is a precious resource, so we want to make as best use of it as possible. And one way to do that is to recycle all the grey water and wastewater onto the vegetable garden or onto the orchard. The system is gravity fed, meaning that the water comes into the house from a high point, from a header tank, and then is used in the house, and from there is disposed of through the plumbing into a grey water system, which is 2 tanks that I use then to store the wastewater for use on the garden. As much as I can, I've tried to use the natural materials that are found in the environment here, and also I've used a lot of recycled hardwoods from taken down houses on here around the north coast that have been sold as second-hand timber. I think the main thing you know, that I felt coming to this site was to build as low impact as possible here, and to use as much of the local natural materials here on and around the site that I could, with minimal impact to the surrounding forest and the environment.
The community is about sustainability as well as general spiritual awareness and modeling a sustainable way of living. So that's about fundamentally caring for the earth and for humanity. I'd been looking for community for many years, for at least 10 years, without finding something that suited me. And then I found this group of people who I believed in, and it was that group of people that ended up starting Bilbanya.
So it started as an idea about 2 years before that, and we got together a whole heap of people and we talked about, well, what is it that we would create? If we could create anything at all, what would we create? And we came up with a list of values and what it is that we want to do. And over the course of the next 2 years, you know, we brought those back down to, well, what does the land need to have in order to support that vision? And we finally found the ideal piece of land for us, and it took us about 6 months to finance and to buy it, and then we moved in just before Christmas in 2008.
It's wonderful. Like there's nothing like community living. That is not to say that it is the best way of living, because that's individual, personal choice. And different communities suit different people. It's a peaceful and quiet place. It's in very rich nature, and being an intentional community with a shared intention of promoting sustainability and living with a spiritual awareness and a care and consideration for each other. They're things I value a lot, and that I find in general in mainstream society they're missing. What do we do when we think things should be done in different ways? We have a lot of awareness around that. So we have decision-making processes, we have consensus decision-making, and a number of other things we do to help us with that. And that is very important in community. I don't think communities that don't have an awareness and some policies and procedures around those things will succeed. They'll end up tearing each other's head off.
Well, look, we were really lucky in the people who were drawn to be here. So when we first started, you know, we had such a range of skills. We had Rose, who has run restaurants before and done a lot of catering. We have a builder. We have an electrical engineer. Chris has done community development. We have someone who specialises in communications. I've got a background in law. So many different skills, all adding to each other. And so what's been able to happen is people have been able to bring their skills to the table and contribute that, help others to learn those skills or to get some of those skills, so we all get a little bit of, I see now, and be able to build Belbunya up in a very holistic sense, so making sure that we have in place systems that support what we want to do, financial systems that are sustaining and support what we want to do, and the physical aspects. And so it's worked really well in enabling people to follow what they're passionate about.
One of the really valuable things we have here at Belbunya is this flow of people coming through. I mentioned before this notion of our humanity and how we see each other. It is a blessing having people from all these different cultures with different backgrounds, different dreams and so on, come through and share their knowledge and their enthusiasm, and sometimes maybe just resting at Belbunya and rejuvenating or re-energizing.
Yeah, volunteers bring a fantastic range of skills and enthusiasm, and I sort of kind of think of them like bees going around pollinating plants, because whilst we're sort of here at Belbunya doing our thing, we've got a whole lot of volunteers who are going visiting all kinds of different communities and coming here and sharing with us about what they've learnt in these other communities and places, which is great. And then they go off and they share about us with other places, and volunteers come here who've met some of the volunteers who've been here before, which is really, really nice, really good for us.
ここでは、ガーデニングや農業をやらせてもらってます。エコビレッジとかコミュニティとかに興味があって、自分も将来作りたいなって友人と話してて、作ろうねって話してて、海外にこういうのあるよっていうのを聞いていました。
I'm a woofer here right now at Zaytuna Farm, also known as the Permaculture Research Institute of Australia. As a woofer, I get up in the morning and I help out with morning chores and tasks. The gardens are actually mostly run by the woofers here. They actually have, I think, 5 or 6 woofers right now on site. It's been really liberating coming here and becoming a part of that production of food and being a part of a community that works together to produce their food.
And this is where we put woofers to come and stay. Yeah. Oh, you drew some stuff? What is it?
And living in community is challenging. It will challenge everybody. But on the other hand, for me, that is a choice where I see it as an opportunity to grow. Just like in a relationship or in a family, whenever you try to live with others, there are challenges. Community is no different.
If one person has a passion for something that's about improving the world, then that will rub off on other people. People will participate in it initially, not necessarily because they may have an interest in it, but out of respect and care for that other person because they're in a relationship with that person. And gradually they'll get infused with an understanding of whatever that issue is. It might be refugees or recycling or whatever. And their interest will grow because they're a human being, you know, in that particular issue, and they'll start becoming more active in it.
We share a lot of community space, we share a workload, we share gardens, we share visioning, we share processes.
I think when communities functioning effectively, people can really grow that, you know, and it's not necessarily a community like this, you know, it might be a community in the suburbs where people are doing neighbourhood community, you know, there's so many different ways of making community happen. But I think human beings, we've evolved to live in community, you know, to live with other people in some kind of way and to be in relationships. And in our society, the way we're doing it today with governments sort of helping us not to need to negotiate anything in our relationships with other people because we've got all these rules. If we just follow the rules, we don't need to negotiate anything. That takes us away from building deeper relationships, potentially, with people.
And it's generally about being present to life and the situation you're in, so that you can feel its life and vibrancy. So it's something that connects to the joy of life.
Yeah, you can do it. You've got this resource, that resource, it's all here. You just got to put it all together.
I hope to live my life as peacefully as I can and respect my place on the earth, and hopefully the rest of the world can live that way too.
We all want to be safe. We all want to express love and feel loved. We all want to make a contribution to this world.
So you got to really ask, what are we sustaining? I'd love for one day us to actually increase topsoils in areas that we live in. Because it seems like, you know, wherever we go, biodiversity decreases and soils are lost.
And I think that by learning how to make our own soil and care for the soil, we will be giving that back.
Our food ultimately comes from the soil. If you trace it back, it's not going back to grass, because grass goes back to soil. So my vision is that humans can live within their environments as a part of it, not apart from it, and they can increase its health and biodiversity.
You have to start with yourself. Just like it's said about peace, you know, you can't create peace in the world unless you have peace within yourself.
I think, you know, if there's a whole range of ways that people can live their lives, and living in a community like this is just one of a plethora of possibilities, and there's heaps of other ways of building community. I think people need to be building community and sharing what they really value and giving life to those values and really connecting with their humanity, and out of that, yeah, a better world emerges.
Well, look, I would just say get some friends together and look at moving onto some land. Just go and do it. You know, there's a big world out there still, and with everyone wanting to live in the cities for whatever reasons, money-wise, material-wise and so on, that can leave room for people who are very serious to live closer to nature, to get out there and see what they can do. So I would just say go and do it. Don't wait.
田んぼを越え砂利道を抜けたらそこに待つのはお花畑。ヘイホーヘイホー必要な分だけヘイホーヘイホー水を飲もうよヘイホーヘイホー寝ている分だけヘイホーヘイホー野菜を食べようゴトン電車を走らせ知らない土地に着いたよ谷を越えトンネル抜けたらそこに待つのはマウンテンシナリーヘイホーヘイホー涙の分だけヘイホーヘイホー海に出かけようヘイホーヘイホー仲間の分までヘイホーヘイホー音を届けよう僕が見上げる星空を君もそこから見ていてよ月の光を浴びたなら心